You went to bed at a reasonable hour. You didn't stay up late. You didn't toss and turn all night. By every measure, you got enough sleep. And yet, you woke up this morning feeling like you hadn't slept at all. Heavy eyes, a foggy mind, that deep, bone-level exhaustion that no amount of coffee seems to touch. If that sounds familiar, I want you to stop for a moment, because what's happening to you is not laziness, it's not age, and it is absolutely not normal. There is a reason, and once you understand it, everything starts to make sense. This is one of the most overlooked health problems affecting Americans over 60 right now. Millions of seniors are sleeping 7, 8, even 9 hours a night and still waking up completely drained. And the terrifying part? Most of them spend years assuming this is just what getting older feels like. They accept it, they push through it, they pour another cup of coffee and keep going. But here's what nobody tells you. That chronic morning exhaustion is often your body sending a very specific signal. A signal that, if you know how to read it, can change everything about how you feel every single day. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to walk you through exactly why this keeps happening, what's actually going on inside your body while you sleep, and what you can do, starting tonight, to begin feeling genuinely rested again. This isn't guesswork. This is based on real research, and it matters more than most people realize. My name is Dr. Silas Redford, and here at Dr. Silas Redford Wellness, we talk about the health topics that affect real seniors living real lives, not textbook cases, not rare conditions, the everyday struggles that millions of people face but rarely hear honest answers about. If this is your first time here, I'd love for you to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps us reach more people who genuinely need this information. And if you have a family member who wakes up tired every single morning, no matter how long they sleep, please share this with them. It could make a real difference. Now let's talk about what's really going on. Most people assume that sleep is sleep. You close your eyes, hours pass, you wake up. Simple. But the truth is, sleep is one of the most complex biological processes your body performs every single night. It moves through distinct stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep, in cycles that repeat throughout the night. And here is where things get interesting, and honestly, a little alarming. As we age, the architecture of our sleep changes dramatically, and most people have no idea this is happening. Think about a woman named Carol, 71 years old, retired school teacher, lives in Arizona. And Carol had always been a good sleeper. 8 hours, lights out, no problem. But somewhere around her late 60s, something shifted. She started waking up feeling like she'd run a marathon in her sleep. Her doctor told her she was just getting older. Her family told her to try chamomile tea. But Carol knew something was different. She felt it in her bones, and she was right. What Carol was experiencing, and what you may be experiencing right now, often comes down to one critical change that happens in the aging brain. The deep sleep stage, what scientists call slow-wave sleep, begins to shrink significantly. A healthy young adult might spend 20% of the night in that deep restorative phase. By the time someone reaches their 60s and 70s, that number can drop to as low as 5%. 5%. That is not enough for your brain to clear out the metabolic waste it accumulates during the day. It's not enough for your muscles to truly recover. And it is absolutely not enough for your nervous system to reset the way it needs to. But wait, because here's what researchers discovered that genuinely shocked the medical community. It's not just about how much deep sleep you get, it's about what's disrupting it. And there are several hidden culprits that most seniors, and honestly, most doctors, are not talking about nearly enough. In a moment, I'll explain each one. But first, I want you to understand something important. The fact that you feel tired in the morning despite sleeping is not a character flaw. It is a physiological problem. And physiological problems have physiological solutions. Let's start with one of the biggest offenders. And it's one that almost nobody connects to morning fatigue. Blood sugar. Specifically, what happens to your blood sugar in the middle of the night? Here's something most doctors rarely explain during a standard checkup. Even in people who are not diabetic, blood sugar levels can dip too low in the early morning hours, typically around 2 to 4 in the morning. When that happens, your body releases stress hormones to compensate. Cortisol, adrenaline. These hormones jolt your system into action, even while you're asleep. You may not fully wake up, but your deep sleep is shattered. Your body goes into a kind of internal emergency mode. And by morning, even though you've been in bed for 8 hours, you've essentially been running on stress hormones for part of the night. Think about that. You went to sleep, but your body spent part of that time in a mild stress response. Is it any wonder you wake up exhausted? And the worst part is, this can happen even if you eat a balanced diet, even if you're not overweight, even if your morning blood sugar tests look perfectly fine. because this happens in a window that most people are never tested in. Now, here's where it gets even more important to understand, because blood sugar disruption is just one piece of the puzzle. There's another factor that's almost invisible, incredibly common in seniors, and almost never caught unless you're specifically looking for it. It's called sleep-disordered breathing. And no, I don't just mean loud snoring. I mean subtle partial airway obstructions that happen dozens, sometimes hundreds, of times per night. You may not gasp. You may not fully wake up. Your partner may not even notice. But each time your airway narrows and your oxygen level dips, your brain is forced to pull you out of deep sleep to restore normal breathing. Over and over again, all night long. This condition affects an enormous percentage of seniors, and research suggests that the majority of cases go completely undiagnosed. People spend years wondering why they're exhausted. They try going to bed earlier. They try sleeping longer. Nothing helps. Because the problem isn't the duration, it's the quality. And you cannot fix a quality problem by adding more time. Margaret, a 74-year-old from Ohio, had this exact experience. She slept 9 hours every night. Her husband slept right beside her and said she slept quietly. But she woke up every single morning feeling like she'd been hit by a truck. She had headaches. She had brain fog. She could barely get through the afternoon without needing to sit down. It took 3 years before anyone suggested she do a sleep study. The results? She was waking up, partially, silently, over 40 times per hour. 40 times. And she had no memory of any of it. Once she received treatment, her morning fatigue began to lift within weeks. Within 2 months, she told her doctor she felt like herself again for the first time in years. That story matters because Margaret is not unusual. She is extraordinarily common. And if there is any chance this is happening to you, please, talk to your doctor about a sleep study. It may be the most important conversation you have this year. But there's more. Because even if your breathing is fine and your blood sugar is stable, there are still other things quietly destroying your sleep quality that most people never suspect. Let's talk about something called cortisol rhythm. Your body has a natural daily pattern of cortisol, the hormone that controls alertness and stress. In a healthy person, cortisol rises sharply in the morning, giving you that natural wake-up energy, and it falls low at night, allowing deep, restful sleep. But here's the problem. In many older adults, this rhythm gets disrupted. Sometimes cortisol stays elevated in the evening when it should be dropping. Sometimes it spikes too early in the morning, before your body has gotten enough restorative sleep. Either way, the result is the same: shallow sleep, early waking. That awful feeling of being awake but not restored. And what disrupts cortisol rhythm? More things than you'd think. Chronic low-grade stress, even the kind you've learned to live with and barely notice anymore. Irregular meal timing. Artificial light exposure in the evening. And here's one that really surprises people. Not enough morning sunlight. Yes. If you're not getting adequate natural light exposure within the first hour or two of waking up, your body's internal clock drifts. And a drifting internal clock means a disrupted cortisol rhythm, which means broken sleep, which means waking up exhausted. It's a cycle, and it feeds itself. Here's something else that's rarely discussed. Medications. Many seniors are taking multiple prescriptions, which is completely understandable and often medically necessary. But certain medications, including some blood pressure drugs, some antihistamines, some antidepressants, and even some heartburn medications, can significantly interfere with sleep architecture. They may help you fall asleep or stay asleep in terms of total time, but they suppress the deep sleep stages your body actually needs to restore itself. You sleep, but you don't recover. This is not a reason to stop any medication. Please don't do that. But it is absolutely a reason to have a conversation with your doctor, because there may be alternatives, timing adjustments, or complementary strategies that could make a significant difference in how rested you feel. Let's also talk about something called the glymphatic system, because this is one of the most fascinating and important discoveries in brain science in the last decade. During deep sleep, your brain actually activates a kind of internal cleaning system. Cerebral spinal fluid flows through channels between brain cells and literally flushes out toxic waste products, including proteins linked to cognitive decline. This process happens almost exclusively during slow-wave deep sleep, and it requires you to be in the right sleep position at the right depth of sleep for long enough periods. When you're waking up exhausted despite enough hours of sleep, there is a real possibility that your brain is not getting fully cleaned each night. And over time, that accumulation matters. Not just for how you feel in the morning, but for your long-term cognitive health. That's not meant to frighten you. It's meant to motivate you. because the steps you take to improve your sleep quality now, tonight, this week, are also steps you're taking to protect your brain for years to come. So what can you actually do? Let's get practical, because that's what matters. First, light. Get outside within 60 minutes of waking up. Even 10 to 15 minutes of natural morning light without sunglasses signals your brain that the day has started, sets your internal clock, and begins the cortisol and melatonin rhythm that will support better sleep tonight. This single habit, done consistently, can produce noticeable improvements in sleep quality within 2 weeks. It sounds almost too simple, but the science behind it is powerful. Second, be very careful with what you eat in the 2 to 3 hours before bed. Heavy meals, high-sugar foods, or even large amounts of fruit in the evening can trigger those blood sugar fluctuations we talked about earlier. A small, balanced evening snack, something with a bit of protein and complex carbohydrate, like a small piece of whole grain toast with almond butter, can help stabilize blood sugar through the night and reduce that 2 a.m. cortisol spike. Third, your sleeping environment. Temperature matters far more than most people realize. Your core body temperature needs to drop slightly to enter and maintain deep sleep. If your bedroom is too warm, your body can't make that shift. Most sleep researchers recommend a room temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit for optimal sleep depth. If you've been sleeping in a warmer room, simply cooling it down by a few degrees can make a meaningful difference. Fourth, screen light in the evening. Blue light from phones, tablets, and television signals the brain that it's still daytime and suppresses melatonin production. Reducing screen exposure in the hour before bed or using blue light filtering glasses isn't just trendy advice. It has real, measurable effects on sleep quality, especially in older adults whose melatonin production is already naturally lower. Fifth, and this one is important, talk to your doctor about your sleep. Specifically, ask whether a sleep study might be appropriate. Ask whether any of your current medications could be affecting your sleep architecture. Ask about your cortisol levels if you're waking in the night or very early in the morning feeling anxious or wired. These are conversations worth having, and if your doctor dismisses them, you are absolutely allowed to advocate for yourself. Now, there's one more thing I want to address, and it's the emotional side of all of this. Because chronic exhaustion doesn't just affect your body, it affects your mood, your patience, your sense of joy, your desire to engage with life. When you wake up tired every single day, the world starts to feel heavier. Things that used to bring you pleasure start to feel like effort. Relationships feel harder. The future feels less bright. And so many seniors carry this in silence, believing it's just what aging feels like, believing they should be grateful for what they have and not complain about being tired. But I want to say clearly, you deserve to feel good. You deserve to wake up with energy. You deserve mornings that feel like a fresh start rather than a continuation of yesterday's exhaustion, and that is entirely possible. Robert was 69 years old when he finally decided to take his morning fatigue seriously. He'd spent 3 years telling himself it was just stress, just age, just life. When he finally dug into the real causes, a mild sleep-breathing issue, a blood sugar pattern his doctor had missed, and a bedroom that was 6 degrees too warm, and addressed each one methodically, the change was remarkable. He described it as rediscovering himself. Energy he thought was permanently gone came back. He started gardening again. He started taking evening walks with his wife. He laughed more. He engaged more. He felt present in a way he hadn't in years. That is what adequate, truly restorative sleep makes possible. Not just the absence of tiredness, the presence of life. You are not too old to feel well rested. You are not beyond help. The changes that make the biggest difference are often smaller than people expect and more impactful than they dare hope. One step at a time, one night at a time. That is all it takes to begin moving in the right direction. If this conversation has opened your eyes in any way, if you recognized yourself in any of these stories, I'd love for you to leave a comment below and tell me which part resonated most. Your experience matters, and it helps others who are reading those comments realize they're not alone. If you know someone who is struggling with morning fatigue, please share this with them. It costs nothing and could genuinely change how they feel. And if you want to keep learning how to protect your health and your energy as you get older, subscribe and join this community, because we cover topics like this every week, and there is always more worth knowing. You showed up today looking for answers. That already says something powerful about you. Keep going. You've got this.